To continue, I just need to talk about Ingrid. Ingrid is my loving wife for over almost 60 years. And whatever happened here in the United States, I could have never done without her, because she also worked her entire life trying to support myself, herself, and our children. And she has done an outstanding job with our finances. I don't think we would have today what we have gotten with Regina, with Ingrid, because she has really done an absolutely great job. And it's just wonderful to have somebody by your side and trying to achieve the same goal as yourself. Things were sometimes a little tight, like they always are. I used to work extra hours whenever I could in the very beginning, and so did Ingrid. She always had some job, and she finally wound up with a job as a quality control inspector, supervisor, and where she could make additional money. So it was really 50% of whatever we got definitely came through Ingrid, and it's a great achievement, and I love her for it. We are now retired in our beautiful home in New Jersey. It has been, I think, at least 15 years on my that I'm retired, and Ingrid is about 16, and we're doing well. Right now I'm battling a little bit of Parkinson's disease and diabetes, but other than that, it's treatable, so it's not a problem. We're doing okay.
Okay, it's recording now.
Okay. Okay.
So, first, what is your, overall feelings to your foster parents?
Okay.
Good?
I was in my late teen, I think it was, when I was 18 or 19.
Oh, is this when your foster parents died?
That's when my foster parents died. My father died first. He was fighting asthma for most of his adult life. He was a very heavy smoker, and the asthma got him, and he died in the spring of, I think it was, we'll get to that later. And my mother, she died 6 months later. And they were...
What did she die from?
My foster mother, she was very overweight. She didn't really smoke or drink or do anything crazy. She was just an overeater, and I think that the amount of food that she devoured, so to speak, is what killed her. She was a very nice lady. She got along with everybody, and I know that she was very good to me. She almost gave everything that she had to me, and she kind of ran the household and everybody else around it. My foster father, he was a very quiet man. Because of his asthma problem, he built himself a little hut in the garden in back of our house, and he was watching the birds and the donkeys, not donkeys, rabbits, and that was his domain until he got to a point where he could no longer hang on, and he died. Which of course now I was all left alone without real guidance. The children, which are of course the adults, they came with a tractor and a trailer, and before my parents was actually buried, they took everything out and left me with one chair, one kitchen table, and that was it, and a couch. The couch was my bed. And I got very mad at them for doing it in such a quick way and not giving anybody enough time to really grieve. And I kind of broke up all communications with them. I blamed everybody for what happened, and was kind of foolish, but that's how I was as a teenager when tragedy struck.
Was this while you were doing trade school?
Yeah.
So you started that first, and then
I just completed trade school, because when you start trade school when you are 15 and you finish after 3 years, which is 18. And at least at that particular time, I was able to earn some money because I no longer was an apprentice. I made some more money as somebody that graduated from painter school.
So this happened like when you were 19, and
That's
you had
correct.
like about a year of doing actual
Right.
learning.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you do after they died? Like, where did you live?
Well, I kept living in the same house, and I had the one little room which was the kitchen, and that was my domain. I didn't need really more than that, but it was very cramped and not a very good place to be in. But I survived. I lived a little bit of a wild life because nobody was there to guide me, and I went from job to job to try to earn more money and more money, which I did. Not a lot more, but every time when you had a big project, like a big painting project, that's when you could go and hire yourself on as a qualified painter. And it was pretty good.
And how long did you stay in that house?
I stayed in the house for 3 years, because at that time Ingrid and I, we got engaged. We were planning to get married, and after we got married, we moved in with her mother, which was a wonderful lady. I became real good friends with them. Her name was Alma, and We stayed there until just about we came to America.
Did your foster parents die before or after you met Omi?
My foster parents kind of died after. They still got to meet Ingrid. But, it didn't take very long, and they both died within 6 months. And it was a shame because we could have had a good life together. But but that was it.
Now, what did their actual kids say? Were they, devastated and
Who?
their kids?
Since I broke off contact with them, I really don't know. But knowing them from before, I'm sure they were very grieved by the loss of their parents,
But did you keep in touch with the one child of
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I did not stay in touch with anybody. And I only got contact with them after we came to America, which is a grandchild of my foster parents.
That's Horst
Lange. And I was working out in the yard here, and Ingrid said to me, "You got a phone call from Germany," and I have no idea who this is. And I guessed who it was. It was Horst Lange, who was also a painter, and in general a nice guy. We established new acquaintances because in the meantime he got married. He had a wife and 4 boys, and so we stayed in touch, and now we're still in touch, and we have been visiting once in Germany and to see Horst Lange and his wife and his sons, and they in the meantime also got married and have children. So it was very, very nice to see all this.
Did you actually meet with him back when you were younger, or did you guys play with each other or something?
With Horst Lange, you mean?
Yeah, when you were littler?
No, there was no contact at all.
Okay.
No contact at all.
And my other question was how did you get the name Moshik? Because I know there's a story behind that.
The name Moshik, actually, I know how it is in Europe. I don't know if it's the same over here. Moshik was the name of my mother and her parents. And by law, unless I were to go for a name change, you have to go through the government and do all kinds of rigmarole. Yeah. And the name kind of stuck, even though I was called Peasant for most of my life. But when I went to trade school, we had to be identified, because now by trade school we had to have made tests every year. And one of the teachers said, "Who is Helmut Persson?" So I raised my hand, and then he says, "And who is Helmut Moshik?" I raised my hand again, and he says, "Well, you got to make up your mind, boy, because you can't have 2 names." And I said, "Well, my original name would be Moshik, because it came from my mother."
How come it wouldn't be Fisher from your father?
Because they were not married. They only would get that name if they were going to be married.
Oh, so then you'd have to take the name of your mother?
That's the name of my mother, and that's how I'm still today. Even though I don't even know my mother. Never met the woman. And I have no idea where she is. She could be up there or down there. I don't know. I don't know.
And were you ever part of like the Hitler Youth?
I was part of the Hitler Youth when I was 10 years old.
Was that when you were in Bavaria?
No, this was after we came back from Bavaria.
Oh, okay.
And I was 10 years old. You had to be 10 years old in order to join. And you wore black pants and a yellow shirt, which is on that picture. And we were going to go on regular exercises, and we even went on a retreat when we were like 10 years old. And my buddies and myself, we didn't really like the very strict lifestyle that we had. We went into a camp, and the camp had a place that's called Horst Wessel House, which Horst Wessel was like a big Nazi, and they named things after him. And my buddies, I had 3 buddies with me, we didn't like the kitchen duty that we had to do, because to peel kartoffel and cut yourself a lot, because you're fooling around, I guess. And so we went in the briar in the bushes, and we scraped our knees with all kinds of different things, so that we had bloody knees, and we didn't have to go out on maneuvers. We could stay home at the kitchen to have an easier life. And after 7 days, we were done with our maneuvers and went back. I mean, kids 10 years old, how much of a maneuver can you have? But we had it. We had to do something like running at full speed and make 10 steps and then jump, and you don't know where you were jumping to. Sometimes it's only like maybe sometimes it's can't think of it. Say.
So it was like a camp?
It was like a camp, yeah.
And you guys were like Boy Scouts?
It's very similar, like Boy Scouts. Only we were also going, Heil, Heil Hitler, stuff like that. That's basically it there. And we were happy to be home again when we got home.
Was that just for like the summer, like a summer camp?
Just for 1 week.
Oh.
But still.
Did you ever have to go back again?
No.
Oh.
That was it. Because this was like, I think it was in 1944, at the end of the war. And there was not enough time for us to have more exercises, because the war came to an end, and nobody wanted to be of any part with Hitler, the Hitler Youth. Everybody wanted to go and hide.
Okay. So I just want to go over the timeline again, just to make sure I got it all right. So like, first you were in Nieks, and then you moved to Carabao, and that's where the castle was, right?
Right.
And then you moved to Poggenzeeg.
Yep.
And then, where'd you go after that?
Steinfeld.
But that wasn't the Steinfeld, like, that was, you went again back, like, towards the end of the war, right? And that's
right.
where,
we were just visiting. We were not actually not. The visitations were to our sister Hedwig.
And her kids.
And her kids, 5 kids. And
then you moved to Hamburg.
We actually moved to Hamburg in 1939 at the beginning of the war.
Okay. And you stayed there pretty much for.
Yeah, we stayed there pretty much and visited the kids, you know.
Okay. And while you were at Hamburg too, you also went down to Bavaria, right, for a time?
What's that?
While you were at Hamburg, you also went down to Bavaria for a
That's
short
correct. I was in 3rd grade when we moved to Hamburg.
And then
No, to Bavaria.
with all the bombing, your mother took you to Steinfeld to live there, right?
That's to survive, yeah.
And that was towards the end of the war.
That was, yeah.
And that was the time where you were like in the barn and you got to play your harmonica
Yeah.
with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright then. Now I got this whole plot line. And then when did you move back to Hamburg after Steinfeld?
Well, as the war came to an end,
Mhm.
we no longer had to worry about bombs, and that's when we went back and stayed for good.
And did you just continue to go to school, or by the time when you went back, you
Yeah,
went to trade school?
when we went back, I even went to school in Steinfeld for a little bit,
Mhm.
and we went to school there. I was in 3rd grade,
Yeah.
and we continued to be in school. I think it was probably until 4th or 5th grade in Steinfeld. Then we went back to Hamburg,
Oh, okay.
and
Were you neighbors with Omi when you went back to Hamburg, but you didn't really pay attention to her till like?
yeah, basically, yeah. Well, we're not not next door neighbors, but let's say from here to the corner. You know.
Okay, so you technically knew her since you were like in 5th grade or something,
Yeah,
but you didn't really like acknowledge her
no,
till you were like after trade school.
Yep.
Did you play with her before, or?
yeah, we did. You're talking about Omi, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it went.
Did you actually get to meet her father?
Yes, because at the one time, at the very end of the war, and just before her father died,
Mhm.
he lived across the street. You know, they all lived across the street, yeah. Omi and her mother and her father. And I did meet him. He was a very tall, handsome guy. And but we never had any close contact with him because he was always working and we were always doing whatever we were doing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
And what did you think of her being handicapped?
I didn't really think of it at all because to me, I didn't look for that. I looked for her as a whole person like you and I.
I was just wondering because she
Yeah.
said how people would tease her about that.
No, she was always very independent.
Was she as controlling as she is now?
No. No, this developed over the years. I have to go to the bathroom quick.
Yeah. Okay, so do you wanna pick off where we lived last time?
Might as well.
We left off. I did want to go over just a few things, the stuff that I
Okay.
got from the video. Who was the lady that took you in when you were down in Bavaria?
Her name was Mrs. Weiss. Weiss.
What's her name? Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
said it was on the video like Margaret White.
Marguerite
Marguerite.
White.
Would it be Weiss in
Hmm?
German?
What's that?
Would it be Weiss in German?
I didn't understand.
Would it be Weiss in German?
2, 3,
Weiss.
5,
Weiss?
9,
No, it's a Weiss.
3.
That's her name, right?
W-E-I-S-S.
Okay.
2 S's.
And the little boy's name was?
Robert.
Okay. Oh yeah, on the video you also told me about when you're at the castle, your grandfather let you slide down the banister.
Yeah,
They put a pillow down to prevent any splinters or
yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to. I was hoping maybe you could slowly spell what that guy said to you in Bavaria. In the
Oh
dialogue.
ja. Hast du schon hier, dass die Schwangere die Gurgel geschrieben haben?
Yeah.
That one. Hast is H-A-S-T.
Okay.
Du is D-U.
Okay.
Hast du schön is S-C-H-O-E-N.
Okay.
Hast du schon gehört?
2,
We did that, didn't we? Gehört?
9,
What?
4, 7,
Let me write this down somewhere. I don't seem to be able to come up with
Let me just write down here. Did you were down in Bavaria, like, was the war towards the end when you were down there?
It was in 1943.
That you went down to Bavaria?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 8.
Okay. And
And the last sector that they took over was the English. And then of course they also created at that time what became East Germany. That was the largest single sector that the Russians took over.
wait, so when you moved to Hamburg, you went there in 1939, right?
Yeah.
And then when did you go to Steinfeld?
That probably was in 1944.
So was that before or after Bavaria?
That was after.
So so in 1943 you went to Bavaria, then you came back. How long were you down there for? Like 3 months?
I was down there for 6 months
Okay.
in Bavaria.
And then you came back, and then did you go right to Steinfeld, or did you stay in Hamburg? For a
That's
bit?
when we stayed in. No, we stayed in Hamburg for a little bit,
Uh-huh.
but that's when we started to travel back and forth between Hamburg and Steinfeld.
And then eventually you went there to get away from all the bombing?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let me see.
Now after you type it up and I read it,
Yeah.
I might have some other things coming
That's fine.
to
I
mine.
just want to get like the whole
Yeah,
overall timeline down in my head, so I
Yeah.
know. So like when you when the railroad track or the train came and you guys found all clothing and stuff and you
Yeah.
got it, that was all in Hamburg?
no, that was all in Steinfeld.
That was Steinfeld, okay. And that, like, after the war was over and you had like that really cold winter, that was all in Hamburg?
Yeah,
Was that when also, like, when the American or the English dropped off supplies?
right.
And that's when you tasted your first banana?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. So I think now I'm ready to
Is it?
continue with.
Yeah, I guess we don't have that much left to cover. We have to cover maybe one more session to. Or what do you think?
Well, I mean, I kind of want to hear like you and Omni and your life in Germany a little bit, cause,
Yeah.
and then you know, when you,
What we gotta do here, we're going this guy. Boy, it's a long ring. What we have to cover is, like you said once before, the birth of our children,
yeah.
buying a house, buying another house, things like that.
Yeah, and I kind of want to hear too about like the relationship between you and the M's and how that grew, since you guys are so close
Oh yeah,
now.
yeah.
So when you, just real quick, when your mother would listen to BBC London, I know that was in Hamburg, was that?
Yeah.
Was that when, like when you came back from Bavaria?
Yeah.
Before you went to
Mhm.
Steinfeld?
Mhm.
Okay. Got it.
Actually, you can put that anywhere because she has done that throughout.
Okay. And what about when you mooned the one guy?
Mm-hmm.
Was that like in Steinfeld?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was really towards the end of the war.
I think we left off here where
Hmm?
I think we left off here where in 1945, the last year of the war, in May, soldiers came back home again.
Yeah.
They were just let go and many came past our house and we would help them with clothing so they could get out of their uniform. They had to sneak back to their home.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when you came back from Steinfeld and to Hamburg?
That was in Steinfeld.
In 1945-46, that was the harshest winter that we ever had.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of snow, a lot of ice. You couldn't buy anything to heat your house with because there was no such thing as central heating. Everything was done by stove. Every room in the house had a stove, kitchen, living room, bedrooms. Whenever a train came up this little incline, a couple of buddies and I would pull the emergency brake to stop the train and we would take some coal back to our houses to burn. Some people took furniture to burn it. It was so bad. Anything was better than freezing to death. That was also in Steinfeld.
Now, that was the year was not what you have there. It was 1946-47. That winter. You had 40.
Oh, well, that's what you must have said in the recording.
Yeah.
Oh well. So, and then going back to the end of World War II, which had devastated all of Europe, it didn't matter if you were German, French, English, Holland, or even Russian. We all suffered from the aftermath. You couldn't buy, get, or raise any food. Sometimes we just ate cabbage cooked in water because there was nothing you could buy to make it good. There was no such thing as a good meal. but we managed with what we had. Oh, I also had another question about your mother. When did you say she died? At what age?
You know, my real mother,
Yeah, your birthday, Antonia.
she died when she was 24.
So you were like 6?
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me once about, like, you remember her, or at least blonde hair or something?
Yeah.
Like, when was that? Like,
I was maybe 2 years old.
was that when she came back for you?
That's when she wanted me to come back with her.
Did you remember what?
I just remember that she had long blonde hair, and she had a guy with him that I was her boyfriend or whatever. But I have no real recollection of what they actually looked like. I just know the images that I saw.
Did your foster parents ever tell you about her?
Not a word.
And like, I guess you wouldn't know how she met Bernhard.
No.
Okay.
Unclear to me.
Okay. Trade school's supposed to be in here. I think I put that somewhere later or somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to, I was about 17 or 18 when I met this little girl named Ingrid, who lived across the street from me. I couldn't stand her because, well, I didn't think girls were too good to begin with. Though it wasn't too long before I changed my mind and we started dating. How'd you pick her out of all the other girls?
Well, I guess we spent a lot of time together, like playing table tennis, ping pong. Because I was the coach for all the girls, and that's something she could do.
Oh, was she on the team?
She was on the team.
Hmm.
And that's basically how we got to know each other a little bit better. You know, then all of a sudden we were engaged.
We started going out to movies, dances, and neighboring towns as well. We became friendlier and friendlier, and before you know it, we were engaged. What movies did you go to see?
We used to see like movies with Esther Williams, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby.
Anyone that was your favorite?
I guess I always liked the comedy ones, whatever.
Yeah. And then one time we were coming home from a party, and Ingrid wasn't feeling too well. My buddy Walter Mark, he and I knew where her bedroom was in the house, and I decided that we should go and serenade her. Her and her mother were going nuts because what we were singing wasn't too good, because we had something to drink, and when you drink you sound good to yourself, but everybody else prefers that you don't sing.
It's true.
What year did you guys get married?
We got married in 1955.
When did you propose to her?
How?
Yeah.
Not clear. I don't think I went down on my knee.
Huh.
I have to think about that.
Yeah. It was about a year and a half later that we decided to get married. I moved in with Ingrid and her mother. It was a very small apartment, and you had to be very careful going from one end to the other because it was very small. While we were there, I finished my apprenticeship as a painter and decorator, and Ingrid finished her apprenticeship. Now did you finish that before or after you got married?
Before.
But you moved in before you got married, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We made a little more money then because you didn't make any money as an apprentice because everybody thought an apprentice doesn't know anything, so why should he get any money? We were an apprentice for 3 years and then we started making money. We moved back to Bilveda into Tanamata's house, who was a cousin of Ingrid's. They had an extra room, so we took it because it was just not working for us in that very small apartment. Now where did Alma live?
She's the place. You mean it? What's the place called where she lived?
Yeah.
It was in Hamburg,
Like the city?
like the city.
Okay, and then you
And-
moved to Bilveda.
And we moved to Bavaria.
Okay. A year and a half later, we were married. We had a little baby named Regina. It was probably the most exciting thing I ever experienced in my life, and I think Ingrid too. I always had the yearning to go and do something different than just growing up in Germany the way it was. You couldn't buy anything, find an
I
apartment.
think
to
it's
live
time
in.
to eat lunch, gang.
Okay.
You stay. You stay right there.